Here I am in week 13, yeah, lucky 13 of Bubble Watch. Hey, that's where we take this. In this video, we go into the back end of my MLS account. That's the multiple listing services. And we look at the real numbers, real time, see what's going on to see if that Jacksonville Metro, North Florida housing bubble is about to burst. In this video, we look at the solds, we look at what's active listings, we look at the pendings, what's withdrawn, what's expired, things that are contingent. We look at new homes too and compare those. And we look at a lot of data to see what houses, what percentage sold below list, at list, and above list, both for all in the whole total and also new construction. We separate it. We go over mortgage rates and a whole lot more. Hey, I'm just a regular guy who happens to be a realtor here in North Florida, and that's why I've got the MLS account and I share that screen with you during this video. Hey, you know what? I get a lot of calls all the time from people, looking to relocate to North Florida. Some of them even wanting to relocate out of North Florida. Hey, if you're interested in speaking with me about relocating here or have questions about North Florida, anything real estate related, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And also, we can meet you in person when you come to check out the area. Hey, right now, let's get into the back end of my MLS and start looking at some of these numbers. Okay, here we're going to start off with the actives like we usually do. And these are the active listings here in Northeast Florida, the Jacksonville metro area. And we come in at 5,764. Okay? And you know what? Let's see. Yeah, well, that's okay. I was going to do something. I'm going to do it with the solds. So what do I want to do? Let's look at the solds next. Now we're going 1 week back on these solds. So on the solds, 1 week back comes to 439. 439 sold. And what I wanted to do was just show you this map here. Check it out. Look at that map. This shows you where all these solds are, okay? Because I've had people asking me, where's the most solds at? And you can see the Jacksonville metro area up there and all along the coast. You see Palm Coast, and over St. Augustine, Jacksonville Beach, up around those areas, okay? All right, now let's head to the contingent taking backup. That comes in at 852. Next, let's go to the pending. 663. Next we're on withdraw. And that comes to 103. Next we're going to go to expired. And that shows up at 116. And now what we want to do is we want to look at these new homes. Okay, we're going to go back and we're going to plug in the new homes. We're going to look at new homes that are active. And that's 1,246. And let's see how many new homes sold. That was 32. Okay, now what I do is I take those numbers and I put in a chart. Now, remember, this is week 13, okay? I've been doing this for 13 weeks, and the whole reason for doing this is because you can't just take 1 week or just one set of numbers and then figure out, or even 2 or 3 and figure out a pattern. That's why I started, way back in May. And we've been following this to look for a trend to see if something's happened. So we're going to put a chart. But you know what? Before I do that, I want to go in there. I'm going to look at what just sold yesterday in 1 day and see where that's at. Because there's some areas that really, the showings are really down. Okay? And I want to go in there and see where the hot spots are here in the Jacksonville metro area. So let's check that out first, and then I'll go to those charts. Okay, I'm going 1 day back, and just in 1 day, we had 84, okay? Now let's take a look at the map. Okay, here's the map, and we're showing all those dots represent, houses that have been sold. And you can see here we've got, mostly it's in the Jacksonville metro area that's closer to Jacksonville, like Middleburg, Green Cove Springs, Orange Park, St. Johns County up there, Jacksonville Beach, and along the coast, St. Augustine, you got one there in Palm Coast. But look at this other area right here, okay? This is all part of the Jacksonville Metro. I mean, it looks like what my cell service is. It's dead. This area, it's like a dead zone. This is the area that's been having some problems with the showings and the sales. Most of it's been further. Now, this is all mostly rural area out here. So is there a trend for people to be more urban now and being closer to the cities and not in the rural? I don't know. I don't know what all that means, but it's kind of strange, you know, that it's been like this. So because during last year, we stayed right on track with everyone else in this areas. Okay, now I'm going to take those numbers, we're going to put them in the chart, and that way we can compare them with over these last 13 weeks, okay? Okay, and here we see the chart, and we start up there at the top. You see we're week 13, and we're on the actives, and it's 5,764. And as we can see, this trend since week 1 has been going up. And remember, you know, interest rates were going up, so people are slowing down. Housing prices are getting expensive, so, you know, buyers been pulling back, and so more houses been on the market. Now the next one there is the solds, and we took a drop. Okay, right now we're starting, this is the first we've seen this much of a drop like this. Actually, these numbers here are the lowest since week 1. Okay, so, you know, last week it was pretty high, now we're down to there. Now we look at the contingent taking back up, and it's remained kind of constant. The pendings, okay, have dropped from last week, but when you look at what, you know, they've done before, you know, in the 6s, it isn't the lowest, but it is lower than most of them have been. The withdrawals jumped to 103, okay? Nothing like when we had those spikes, you know, in week 9 and week 10. But, you know, it has jumped from the last 2 weeks. Expireds went down 116. And look at the new homes. This is the dramatic one. Down to 32 new homes sold, and new homes active 1246, that went up. So what does this all mean? Okay, well, you know, the amount that are active went up, and the homes definitely sold, people held up. Now the new homes are pretty expensive, but we're going to also track, remember, we track in here the percentage of new homes and also the existing homes that sold at list, below list, and above list. So we're going to see how those numbers played out this week, you know, and see how it looks with that. Now I want to say something about these actives with construction, with new construction. That active number you see there, that includes, a lot of times it'll be included in the active when the homes hasn't even started yet. It's going up for sale, and that's where you see those file pictures that they post up there of a new home, and the home hasn't even been built. So it's going to include those. It's going to include the ones where you walk by, you just see the concrete slab, or you just see the frame going up, or concrete blocks, whatever. It's not completely done. So those are included in that. So it's hard to tell how much that they've, you know, have started doing things or not, but if they have held back on creating any new ones, I just don't know with these numbers, because that doesn't tell if they've slowed down starting. So something else a viewer wanted to see, they wanted to see, okay, how many were pending in new construction, and that's a good idea. So let's see how many out of those pendings are actually new constructions that are contingent to take backup or pending. Let's look at that. Okay, the new construction that's pending is 90. So out of that total group there, as we see here, it's 90 of them that are new construction. And just so you can look, here's the map where you can see where a lot of this new construction's at. Now let's take a look and see how many are contingent taking backup. And there's 29. So with that 90 and the 29, it's 119 that are you know, under contract. All right, now remember, when we see these pendings and contingent, whether it's new construction or whether it's the existing homes, those are under contract now. That doesn't mean they're going to turn into sales. Now we saw some good pending and contingent. The contingent taking backup have stayed pretty high. Now those contingents, keep in mind, those are buyers can back out of contracts more easily during a contingency period, depending on how the contract was written. Okay, for example, if it's an inspection contingency and they don't like what they see, or they want a bunch of repairs done and the seller doesn't want to do it, then they may back out of the contract. So that, you know, that doesn't mean those are going to end up as solds. And is that why the solds dropped so much? Did a bunch of people back out of contracts because buyers are getting pickier because they feel they've got a little more leverage right now? I don't know. You know, we don't have that data. Same thing with pending. And now the pending is supposed to be, if it's statused correctly, you know, as a pending, then it's supposed to have passed all the contingencies on its way to close. But sometimes even those don't close once they pass the contingencies. It happens. So right now, let's take a look at those mortgages. And the first thing we're going to look at a headline about mortgages and then look at these mortgages this past week. Okay, here's this week's headline, and this was done today. Mortgage rates spike as home prices hit new record. The national home price average crossed the $400,000 mark for the first time. Well, before we get to those mortgages, yeah, this $400,000 mark, I mean, that's huge. I mean, this all goes into that affordability factor, which is, you know, really bad. Now, you know, there's still homes around here that I got around the 200 to 220. I know a lot of people would like to see it 150 or something, but still in this market, you can still get a 3-2 with some land and maybe even like on an acre of land for just over 200,000. So, you know, depending. So let's take a look at those mortgage rates and see what they said. These mortgage rates spiked. So let's see how much they spiked. Okay, I'm going here to the chart here at my site here, Mortgage News Daily. And if you look at the graph right here, in this area here, you see where it started out at 5.09 since the last time where we left off. And then we ended up here at 527. Now that article was today, so it had the reference yesterday, which was on the 10th. It said 5.18 and then 5.27 as a spike. Well, let's look at the chart up here. You know, to me, that's kind of a little hiccups here where it's up and down. Okay, if we look there, that was a week ago, 5.09, and then I'll back this away so you can look and see right there, kind of went up, down, and then up a little bit. This little spot right there, that dip, to me, that's not much of a spike. This right here is a spike, okay? When you see this was like dramatic, and that's when it went over 6. Okay, to me, that's a spike. So maybe they were just a little bit overreacting on that. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm still talking to people that are telling me they've been able to get mortgages for under 5, okay? So, you know, of course, it depends on your credit and all this and that and everything, and your history and your jobs and debt to income and all that stuff. But you know, it's out there if you shop around, if your credit's good. All right, next thing, let's see what we're going to do is let's look at that square foot chart and see where it was. Remember, it kind of flatlined, and we used Jacksonville as our reference. So let's see how much the square footage has gone up, or if it did this last week. Okay, here we are to that price per square foot, and as we can see, we ended up at 202. And that's where it stayed for the last 3 weeks. So check this out. These, you know, even though they're saying home prices are rising, which they have, but they're not going up as much. And you see how it's it flattened out. You know, we had this big hill going up here gradually, you know, the beginning of the year and the middle of this first half. But now things have flattened out a little bit. So, and remember, a lot of people said, well, because the square footages were so much was because of these more expensive homes, you know, were being sold. And so that's what's up next. We're going to look at those houses and I pick the ones that are 500,000 and above, and we look at the percentage to see how much percent of those homes sold out of the total number sold. And also, what we do is we look at the, now we've been tracking this for a few weeks to see if there's a pattern, and we also look at the percentage of homes that sold below list, at list, and above. Okay, and then we'll do that with new construction too. So let's look at those 500 pluses here first and see. So I'll show you what I do. I take all that data from the MLS and I put it into an Excel spreadsheet here, and it gives me all these prices over here of everything and the houses and stuff. And so I sort it out and clean it up to where it ends up more like this, something's a little more manageable to figure out the pricing and what we've got. And then just for instance, like look at this number here over on the other side here in this area. Those are like days on market. So you see they're kind of all over the place. It isn't nothing really excessive. You know, you'll get a few like that one there, 97, but you're seeing a lot of stuff, you know, less than a week, a couple of weeks and stuff. So that's remained kind of constant. So let's see what these numbers, once I sorted all this out, what they come out to. Okay, what we ended up with was the homes that were 500 plus, the percentage of it was 26%, okay, of the homes sold were at that level. Homes that sold below the list price or the asking price was 56%. The ones that sold at list price was 20%. And the ones that sold above was 24%. Okay, now those for the resales. Now let's take a look and see what the new construction did. New construction, the ones that sold below list price, was 32% this past week. At list price was 34%. And above was 34%. So almost even for the new construction there. All right, now I'm going to put them in the chart, and let's look at the chart where we can compare them with the previous weeks. Okay, here's our chart, and as we look at the 500,000 and above, 26%, that stayed pretty close for the last couple of weeks, and really the whole week except for week 10 where it jumped to 30. Okay, 56% for homes that sold under list, that has jumped up. The ones that sold at list has gone down, as well as the homes that sold above list. But still, 1/4 of the homes out there have sold above list price. And, you know, generally when it goes above list price, that means there is a multiple offer, or there's other people involved, or someone's asking for highest and best, you know, by a certain time. So it causes people to go up. But I still think that's kind of up there from based on, you know, the market, what's going on. Now, this number here, where that number really jumped for below list, man, I know it. I can hear the people out there right now screaming, saying, I told you this was coming, I told you coming. Well, I got something to say about that here after we go through these charts and stuff here at the end of the video. I got an example of something I gotta show you to prove a point that I've made in some of these past videos. But hold on, let's look at some more of these charts, and then I'm going to get to that. Okay, we're going to look at the new construction here. Now remember, we didn't have a whole lot to go on this week. There wasn't that many in sales that really dropped. But we're looking at it, it was like almost straight across. But you really see there, the ones that sold under list, 32%, okay, and then at list 34, and then 34 above. Okay, so that number really, the biggest change was in the above and the below. Okay, because the ones at list are still there. But still think, you know, 1/3 of them still sold above the list. Just think about that. 1/3 of those houses, okay, went above. I mean, that's incredible, okay? And then even with the resales, 1/4 did, okay? Now I want to talk about those houses that have gone down in price, okay? This is the thing where, you know, the people saying like, oh yeah, everything's going down, everything's below list, you know, our prices are falling, prices are falling. Well, I want to tell you about one, a sold that I happened to run across here. Now, I was looking for something else on these solds. And so, you know, last week on Bubble Watch 12, I talked about, I used an example of the can of water. And here we go. And talked about the price of that. If you saw that, if you didn't, go back and watch 12 and watch what I do with the can, where I talk about these prices, saying like, okay, even though they've gone down, they still are high prices, okay? And this is a perfect example. This house sold in this past week, it was included in that, $290,000, okay? It listed for over $300,000. So it would have been in that over 50% of the houses that sold for less than list, where all those people are saying, there, I told you, you know, they're going down, prices are going down. Okay, so this house did sell below list, but this house in September of 2020, just 2 years ago, sold for $170, okay? So between $170 and $290, what's that? That's a 70% increase in 2 years. Okay, so what if the price came down, okay, and it was below list? That's why I'm saying, like, when you see these prices come crashing down, so to speak, below list, others, you know, it's because maybe they were priced too high to begin with and all that are coming down. But still, they sold it for 70% above. Now, granted, last year, you know, during that buying frenzy, you know, everyone was buying like crazy, and so the price was going up. You didn't see nothing hardly going below list. There were a few, but not a lot, okay? But still, think about this. All we're hearing about is the crash, everything's crashing, the bubble, pow, you know, all that stuff, and these prices are coming down. Okay, this is in those numbers of prices coming down, and it was an increase of 70%. Tell me how that, you know, is a crash or a bubble. If I'm making 70% in 2 years, you can crash me all day long, okay? So with all these numbers, you got to see, you know, you got to try to decide, and it depends on your situation right now, where you at, what you can do. There's a lot of inventory. The interest rates, you see, kind of flat out, even though the Fed's raised stuff, we don't know. People are still predicting 7%. So if you get in now, then you're going to get a deal, you know. But if it's something you can't, you may want to look. You got some choices, and then you got to decide, okay, whether it's time to buy or time to sell.